Hi, my name's Steve and welcome to the Seaside Allotment channel, and it's time for a tour video. And I've been doing planting plan videos for some of the plots and the back garden, the polytunnel and whatever. When I do this tour, I'll try and give you an idea of the next succession for the beds on my plot. The whole planting plan's just too complicated because it's, there's just too many successions. I think there's probably about 50 different successions on my plot over the next year, so I won't do that. But generally speaking, I think I'm pretty happy with the way things are going. There's always some issues at this time of year. You're getting some dieback, some plants are looking a bit scrappy, things are coming to the end of life really. And obviously we've got a lot of new stuff ready to plant, and some of it's planted. Anyway, I'll give you an idea of that. But generally I think I'm pretty happy, and we've had some decent weather over the last few weeks. And that's helped enormously, rather than just endless wind and rain. We've actually had some sunshine, and we've got some sunshine today. So that's enough preamble. Let's get on and have a look around. So we'll get started with the grow bench, the trestle table. And we're not going to go into this in detail because I did do a video all about this only about a week ago. But basically we've got some sugar snap peas there, we've got some peas for pods there. We've got loads and loads of brassicas of all different types and sizes and combinations. Yeah, I mean, these are mostly my winter brassicas and my summer brassicas. I suppose that's no surprise. Next succession of red kitten spinach, and then loads and loads of onions. There's a mix here of spring onions and main crop onions, and they carry on down to the end there. And then this is my first batch of lettuce that will eventually end up outside, and so I'm pretty pleased with the way these are going. These will probably be about 3 or 4 weeks away from planting. See how the sunlight goes for that. And then these are the lettuces that I've just been planting. That's what's left of them, basically just a few spares there. I'll show you those in a minute. And if I do manage to find a bed outside, well, one of the cold frames that needs planting up, these are just reserves for that purpose. And I've got some nice little lamb's lettuce as well there. That's my next batch of radish. That's the next batch of radish that goes after that one. So nice successions of radish coming on. And we're just harvesting radish at the moment, have been for a couple of weeks, and that will finish fairly soon. So it's nice to have another batch on the way. And I've just popped my ochre tubers into this compost now, and I'll just keep this slightly damp now until it germinates. I don't want to rot them, so I'm not going to keep it too moist. So here's a rough overview of the polytunnel, and so I'll do some highlights in a minute. Underneath there we've got spinach and lettuces interplanted with brassicas. Here we've got lots of brassicas, potatoes, whatever, and then there is one of my winter lettuce beds that started to interplant with new lettuces, and lots of containers of carrots and other bits and pieces. So here's my new lettuce bed, and I'm really pleased with the way these are going. I planted these last week and they've almost doubled in size, looking really beautiful. Well, if you like lettuces as much as me, then they look beautiful. And then round the periphery there we've got some radish, and they're looking pretty good as well. I'm quite happy with those. And then these are more lettuces interplanted with old October planted lettuces. But these are still providing some beautiful red leaves into the salad mixes, so I don't want to take these out yet, but so I've interplanted into them, and that's worked quite nicely. And then another lovely bed of Roxy, doing very well. And then a little brassica jungle, looking pretty good. And when you see the state of the kale outside, you'll realise why it's so nice to have these younger plants in the polytunnel. It was actually minus 2.6 in the polytunnel last night. Somebody asked me, Sean I think it was, what temperature the polytunnel stays at night. Well, it's basically just a little bit colder than it is outside, and it seems counterintuitive to think that it's colder, but it's colder because there's no air movement in the polytunnel, and air movement is heat basically, and so it's slightly warmer outside. But these potatoes under fleece are one of the only tender things that I've got, and you can see they're looking pretty happy. I've just taken the fleece off, obviously. And then this is under the trestle table, and we've got calabrese coming on quite nicely there, interplanted into the lettuces. Basically, just as gaps open up because we lose lettuces, that's what we do. And then it's basically the same story in the spinach bed, where we've got some lovely cauliflowers coming on. And I did actually have quite a nice cauliflower there, but the slugs got it, so I put a few pellets down, and as you can see, there are quite a few slugs. They basically just seemed focused on that particular cauliflower, so I've put a new one in. And I'm particularly pleased with these spring onions. These are stir-on, so you could use these as bulbing onions, but they've germinated very nicely, so these will be spring onions, and they'll get interplanted into the lettuce beds, and they'll go into the same beds as these lettuce here. So outside on the plot, everything was nicely frozen this morning. So this bed is just protected with a little netted frame. It doesn't keep the bed warm, but it does just take the edge off the wind. And we've got spring cabbages in here, 6 spring cabbages, and they're currently interplanted with this really quite nice salad rocket, but that won't last for long now. And just around the edge we've got some corn salad, and that will last even shorter. And then in this bed here will go, I think, CHARD, and then in that bed down there will go perpetual spinach. I've got these 2 lettuce beds. They're a little bit sparse. We've lost quite a few out of this one in particular for some unknown reason, but it doesn't really matter because fairly soon this one is going to be golden purslane, and that one is going to be courgette. And obviously they're in a cold frame, so they're going to be started reasonably early, but not too early because we've still got lots and lots of lovely lettuce to harvest there. So this bed's just been cleared, and in here we're going to have early French beans under one of these little covers. So in this cold frame we've currently got a winter radish, and we use this in our smoothie mixes, and you can see it's an incredible grower. It's one of the most prolific of the smoothie greens that we grow. And then we've just got a salad bed here that's just finishing, and I think in here we're going to have bold hardy beetroot, and we've got the tray ready to go there. It's probably 2 or 3 weeks away, and that'll get interplanted with all these spring onions, which will stay in here. And then in this little hoop tunnel we've got some lovely early beetroot. It's coming on pretty nicely, and that's all interplanted with spring onions as well. And then in this bed we've got these little clumps of sprouts, and these were overwintered and they didn't do particularly well for some reason. I think I just used old compost. I suppose I should use some new stuff. The nutrient profile just probably wasn't right for them, looking at the colour of the leaves. They're not looking so good, are they? But they should recover. In fact, they're looking better than they did when they were planted. But we're big fans of early sprouts grown for leaves, so I'm excited for this bed to get growing. And again, it's currently interplanted with spring onions. And then once I've finished with this bed, this is all going to be sweet and chili peppers. And this is currently CHARD, and it'll stay CHARD until about May. CHARD starts to all run to seed by May, so it's not looking fantastic, is it, at the moment, but it's not surprising given the weather. But by May, well, not by May, by the middle of March probably, we'll be starting taking quite a nice harvest off this, and then this bed will become the summer kale bed. And then I've got a couple of winter salad beds, and this one in particular is definitely coming to the end now. This has been winter marvel, and it's been really useful. It's quite a nice winter salad, particularly good in February and now early March, although we have got a little bit of problems with mould on the tips of the leaves. But that's no issue really, because within a week really this bed will be cleared, and this is where the first batch of carrots are going to go. And then when that bed, which is also beautiful salads, is cleared about a month and a half's time, that'll be the next succession of carrots. So then we've got another beautiful winter salad bed, and then this bed is not so beautiful. This is Freckles, and these plants haven't fared quite so well, but they're now interplanted with some slightly leggy sprout plants, again just grown for leaves. It's too early to plant sprouts, I think, for anything but leaves. Our sprout plants were for winter, have only just been sown and they're not actually up yet. So then we've got these rather gorgeous overwintered onions, and I keep saying this every time I do a video, but I'm particularly pleased with the quality of these. Really excellent. They're planted extremely densely because quite a lot of them are suitable for eating as spring onions, and so we'll be thinning those out. They're not quite ready yet. In about a month's time we'll start thinning them, but yeah, so they'll obviously be with us until May, June time, just as we're running out of stored onions. And then this is the first of the outdoor spinach, and it's looking pretty good. We've been harvesting this now for about a month, and so you won't see much evidence of lush growth. Any lush growth is quickly picked and eaten, but yeah, they're going pretty well. We're getting about 8 litres of spinach a week at the moment, I think, which is not enough. And then this is the radish that we're currently harvesting from, and as I say, probably this Sunday we'll finish harvesting this. We'll take a lot of the leaves as well for smoothie mixes, and we'll take the last of the radishes, and then we'll get some of those replanted. And then we've got this beautiful red ruble kale, which at the moment is kind of a dusty purple, but the leaves go really glossy later on in the season. But yeah, it's fantastic at the moment, and it's a mainstay in the smoothie mixes. So this used to be the summer kale bed, and we did plant a few sprouts in later on in the season, and looking a bit scrappy, but they're okay, still worth having. And there is some kale here as well. This particular kale is Hungry Gap kale, and true to its name, it looks like it's going to have some pretty good growth come the Hungry Gap, but whether it will actually survive in here, because this is the onion bed, and so all those onions that you saw in the polytunnel will be in this bed once it's reconditioned in April. And then this bed is full of field beans, and these are busy pumping nitrogen into the soil, and that's pretty good, because this bed is going to be the flowering brassica bed. So this is where all the calabrese, greens, sprouting broccoli, summer purple sprouting broccolis, etc. are going to go. And so I'm particularly excited to get this bed planted. It looks so scrappy at the moment because this is, as I say, it's field beans, and they have really suffered from the wind here, really suffered. And then this is the perpetual strawberry bed. Looks a little bit scrappy at the moment, but it's not too bad. And there's apple trees and cherry trees down the centre, and there's actually a few elephant garlic that were in here last year that I must have missed. They're coming up okay. And then the two round planters are going to have sweet potatoes in them. And then this is the most advanced of my beetroot beds, and this is Detroit Globe and Early Wonder. And this was the New Zealand spinach bed, and it kind of still is the New Zealand spinach bed because there's loads of self-seeded New Zealand spinach. I've taken lots of those and potted them on. I'm kind of hoping that the frost will kill it, but it hasn't yet, so there's still plenty of weeding to keep doing in that bed. And I think this will be ultimately New Zealand spinach again once these beetroot are harvested in about May time, I should think, late April, early May. And then we've got another bed of red kitten spinach. And again, it's looking really nice. And this bed will be golden purslane once we harvest that last of that spinach. And then this is some winter density that was planted in December, I think, and it doesn't do very well for me, winter density. Actually, I kind of overwinter as mature plants, but planted really late in the year and then allowed to mature in spring, it's looking really nice. I'm very pleased with the quality of those. And there's kind of Mizuna down the front there, and then round the back there, can you see the peas? They are doing really nicely. And then those peas continue into this cold frame as well. Very pleased with those peas. And then these are the most advanced of my spring cabbages. So there's 10 there, and lots of space actually, so I might see what I can squeeze in there. And some of these they need earthing up a little bit. They're a little bit wobbly, so I'm going to get that done today. And then in this little bed, we've currently got the last few winter cabbages, so they'll be harvested over the next couple of weeks. And then this bed will all be replaced with spinach and radish. And then once that's finished, in about May time, this bed will all be Eskimo winter carrots. And then right along the edge of the plot, this nice big bed is currently all winter brassicas, all very close to finishing now. So about April time, all this will be out, and then this bed will be beetroot for summer. And this bed will be dwarf French beans. And then the raspberries are just starting to push through. More life on the autumn fruiters than on the summer fruiters. And lots of gooseberries all coming to life too. And then finally the last 4 beds, an excellent salad bed. This bed, which is a deep cold frame, you can see how deep it is. The lettuce always do really well in the deeper beds. Not quite sure why, but could be lots of reasons. And then we've got the first succession of kohlrabi, and some of that is actually starting to bulb up nicely now. It's been quite a long wait. And then another lovely CHARD bed. And of course we're harvesting this every week, so again, never really gets a chance to show off. And then finally just a few leggy lettuces and a few kales. And this bed won't last long, only a couple of weeks now before this gets replanted. And then we're on Jennie's plot. No real sign of life on the trees, but the rhubarb's doing splendidly. And if we just pan across, we've still got quite a lot of sprouts. probably 3 weeks worth. And then we've got the main COURGETTE bed, and these are just amazing. The amount of food on a single one of these is just incredible, and this will keep us going for quite a few weeks, basically until we get to the spring cabbages and the hungry gap kales. And then here we've got the purple sprouting broccoli, which we've just recently had to start netting. It's looking pretty good. Last dregs of cabbages, a few cauliflowers, another purple sprouting broccoli, and the what will be the French beans. This bed will be the potatoes, and then this bed, the main brassica bed, at the moment will be the summer squash. And then this bed that was the summer squash is currently field beans, and all of this bed will be the winter brassica bed. But right now it's all about the field beans. These little beauties are amazing. This is what we harvest, these new shoots, and we harvest every week. We're taking off about 6 litres a week. And then we've got the broad beans, and once these harvested, this will be purple sprouting broccoli and cabbages and cauliflowers. And then over that side is the main garlic bed. And then finally the early and late strawberries, and then down the centre of there will also go leeks. And then back on my plot for a minute, we've got a cherry tree just starting to come into flower. And it's interesting that the ones at home, they're almost in flower now, but so this is a few weeks late here on the allotment, even though it's only a couple of, well, probably only a mile away. And we've got the perennial kale, more trees down here, thornless blackberry, and another perennial kale. I'm rapidly taking as many cuttings off this as I can, off these kind of dangling straggly branches down here. So I've got quite a nice collection of those now. And now we're on Debbie's plot, which is looking very nice. We've just remulched all of the orchard area and the berries and the paths and everything. So almost everything is finishing now on here, apart from the strawberries. So all of these are going to be replanted pretty soon. And then we've got the perennial herb beds here and here. And we've got a few cabbages and things and some salad rocket in there. But it's nice to have all this space free for spring planting, because most of my plot is kind of full and ready for its early summer plantings. And then we've got a lot more purple sprouting broccoli. Again, it's doing pretty nicely. And then we've got another perennial herb bed and some perennial Welsh onions there. And then we've got some overwintering onions and cauliflowers right at the end. And then this bed that's currently strawberries, those are going to come out, and we're going to plant asparagus in there. And then we've got, these are perennial kales, and then globe artichokes, more perennial kales and more globe artichokes, and then kind of interplanted into here, which will ultimately all go and be trained along this fence at the back, are all sorts of different types of berries. And everything else on Debbie's plot is currants and fruit trees and all sorts of different berries. So that is pretty much it for the allotment. I just didn't mention that I've got the strawberries up in the roof of the polytunnel, and there's loads going on in the back garden as well. But I think I'll call it a day. I hope you enjoyed this quick video, and I'll see you soon.